I had just moved to a quiet cabin in the countryside. It was supposed to be a fresh start after my breakup. I thought the solitude would help me find peace. The first week, everything felt fine. I had my graphics software open, and the fire crackled warmly. It was snowy outside, but I felt comfortable. But then, on the third night, something changed. I heard footsteps crunching in the snow. At first I thought it was a neighbor. I opened the window, hoping to see someone, but the snow-covered ground was eerily empty. The quiet wrapped around me like a thick blanket. The knot in my stomach tightened, but I brushed it off. Maybe it was just my imagination. The next night, around midnight, the footsteps returned. They were louder this time, like someone was circling my cabin. I froze. My heart raced as I strained to hear. I wanted to believe it was just wind or an animal. But then I heard a soft scratching sound against the wood, and I couldn't convince myself it was nothing. I stood up, my legs feeling heavy, and walked to the door. The cold air hit me as I opened it slightly. I looked out into the darkness, but all I saw was untouched snow. I felt like I was being watched. I closed the door and went back to the warmth inside, but that chill stayed with me. The third night was the worst. Just as I was about to sleep, I heard the footsteps again. They seemed closer now, as if someone was right outside. Panic bubbled up inside me. I was terrified but also curious. I considered going outside, confronting whatever was out there. I took a deep breath and listened harder. Whispers drifted through the air, soft but unmistakable. I wanted to shout out, but my voice felt stuck. I peeked outside again, hoping for some answer. The snow met my gaze, a vast white nothingness. I felt dread settle in my chest. Shadows began to dance at the edge of the trees. I squinted, trying to make sense of them. Panic set in again, and I turned away. I convinced myself it was just animals. I tried to laugh it off, but the uneasiness persisted. Then the footsteps stopped, and a scary silence drowned everything. I held my breath, wishing I could shake off the feeling that something was wrong. In a rash moment I called out, "Who's there?" My voice broke the silence, but there was no reply. Just more silence. Then I heard the whispers again, clearer this time. "Why are you here?" I felt a wave of cold wash over me. I stood there, not knowing what to do. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. I didn't know why I was there. Maybe I was seeking peace, but what I found instead was a deep sense of dread. The snow continued to blanket the world outside, and in that darkness, I felt more alone than ever. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of snow falling gently against the window. I rubbed my eyes, hoping it was all just a bad dream. But the memories of the previous night were still fresh. I pulled on my thick sweater and decided I needed to get some fresh air. Maybe a walk in the snow would help clear my mind. I stepped outside, the icy air biting at my cheeks. The world was beautiful and silent, a pristine blanket of white stretching as far as I could see. I took a deep breath, the crisp air filling my lungs, but the tranquility felt different. I could still hear those whispers in my head. As I wandered through the snow, I tried to shake off the uneasiness. I decided to head toward the edge of the woods, where the trees stood towering like silent sentinels. I wanted to distract myself, to find something, anything, that could take my mind off the footsteps and whispers. But as I walked deeper into the woods, the silence thickened. The only sound was the crunch of snow beneath my boots. And the further I went, the more isolated I felt. After some time, I noticed something in the distance. A shape was half hidden by the trees. My heart quickened. I wanted to turn back but felt drawn to it. I approached slowly. As I got closer, I recognized it was a small wooden structure, almost like a shed. The door was slightly ajar, creaking gently with the wind. Curiosity gnawed at me. What could be inside? I hesitated for a moment, but I couldn't ignore it. Pushing the door open, I peered into the dim light inside. Old tools hung on the walls, dust-covered and forgotten. In the far corner, something caught my eye. It was a notebook. I stepped inside, the room filled with a musty smell that made me cough. The notebook was weathered, the pages yellowing. As I flipped it open, I saw faded handwriting scrawled across the pages. It looked like someone had been keeping a journal, recording strange happenings and events. My heart raced as I read snippets. Footsteps in the night. Whispers from the trees. They know I'm here. A chill ran down my spine. It felt too familiar. I quickly flipped through more pages. Every entry was laced with fear. It mentioned an old legend of a spirit that roamed the woods, whispering to those who dared to enter its domain. My breath hitched in my throat. This couldn't be real. Just then, a blast of wind slammed the door shut behind me. I jumped, my heart leaping into my throat. Panic surged. I scrambled to the door, yanking on the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Then I heard it. Footsteps crunching outside again, right outside the shed. I froze. They were heavy, purposeful, and they sounded like they were circling. My heart thundered in my chest as my mind raced with fear. I wasn't alone. I gripped the notebook tightly, not knowing if I should wait it out or find a way to escape. There was something out there, something that wanted me to hear those whispers. And now, it felt like it was too late to turn back. I pressed my back against the cold wooden wall, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The footsteps outside were growing closer, crunching through the snow with an unsettling rhythm. I wanted to scream, to pound on the door, but the fear paralyzed me. What if they heard me? The notebook felt like a lifeline, but now I couldn't focus on the words. I glanced around the shed, searching for something. I didn't know what to defend myself with. There was nothing but rusted tools covered in dust. I picked up a heavy wrench, the metal cold in my hands, and took a deep breath. The footsteps stopped suddenly. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. My ears strained to catch any sound, but there was only the rush of my heart pounding. I strained to hear any hint of movement. Then slowly I heard a soft whisper. It was faint and indistinguishable, but I could feel it wrapping around me like a cold mist. They know you're here. Chills raced down my spine. My thoughts reeled. That message from the journal echoed in my mind. I was not just in danger. I was part of something much larger than myself. The whispers urged me to leave, to run. But where could I go in this oppressive stillness? Suddenly the door rattled. Something was pulling at it from the outside. I pressed my shoulder against the door, my heart pounding hard enough to make me dizzy. I couldn't let whatever was outside get in. The door shook violently again, and this time it swung open a fraction before slamming back against the wall. I stumbled back, nearly losing my balance as I quickly scanned for an escape route. That's when I noticed the window on the far wall. The glass was old, cracked, but it was my only chance. I rushed toward it, wrench still in hand, and pushed against the frame. It creaked, but held. I could hear heavy breathing from outside now, like something was waiting. Just as I was struggling to pop the window loose, I heard a voice. A low, almost melodic whisper that sent a violent shiver through me. You will face the truth. I hesitated. What truth? What was I supposed to face? My instincts screamed at me to get out, but curiosity tugged at me too. I wanted answers. I wanted to know what was really happening in these woods. With one last heave, I finally managed to force the window open. The icy air rushed in, but before I could crawl through, the door behind me splintered. I turned just in time to see a figure fill the doorway. Everything felt surreal. Was it real? Was it a figment of my imagination? I didn't have time to ponder. I scrambled through the window, the crunch of snow beneath me loud in the chilling silence, but then I realized I wasn't free. I landed outside, but the figure was still there, just beyond the threshold. I could feel its presence, like a dark shadow looming. Was it the spirit? And why did I feel drawn to it? The whispers greeted me again, urgent and insistent, echoing through the trees. I bolted away from the shed into the snow, but fear gripped me as I looked back over my shoulder. The figure hadn't moved. I ran deeper into the woods, away from whoever or whatever was watching. And with every step, the whispers grew louder, and the footsteps began to follow me. The snow crunched beneath my boots as I ran, each step a reminder that I was no longer safe. Branches scraped against my jacket, reaching out like twisted fingers trying to pull me back. The whispers intensified, swirling around me, mixing with the sound of my ragged breathing. I had no idea where I was going. I just needed to put distance between myself and the shed. The trees enveloped me, their dark silhouettes shifting in the shadows. Each glance over my shoulder showed me nothing, but the feeling of being watched only grew stronger. Then, just ahead, I spotted a faint glow filtering through the trees. My heart raced. Could it be another cabin? A safe place? I pushed forward, drawn to the light like a moth to a flame. As I got closer, I could make out the outline of a building, small and worn down with a low roof. The light was flickering, dancing through the frost-covered windows. I hesitated at the edge of the clearing, scanning the perimeter. There were no tracks in the snow leading up to it, which felt unnatural. Had someone just left it there? Or had it been abandoned? I needed to decide quickly. The whispering in the air turned urgent, echoing my fear. Go in. You must know. Against my better judgment, I approached the door. It was slightly ajar, creaking as I pushed it open. Inside, the room was dim, illuminated only by a single lantern hanging from the ceiling. The air was thick with the smell of damp timber and something else, something musty and stale. The furniture was sparse, a rickety table covered in a layer of dust and a few old chairs. In one corner, a tattered armchair faced the wall, as if waiting for someone to return. I swallowed hard, scanning the space for any signs of life. Just as I was about to turn away, my eyes landed on a small bookshelf, barely hanging onto the wall. Books were strewn across its shelves. One caught my attention, a battered brown leather journal. I reached for it, the frayed edges brushing against my fingertips. This had to be important. I flipped it open, and my breath caught in my throat. The entries were dated decades ago. They spoke of a presence in the woods, something sinister lurking and waiting. My pulse quickened with each line, as I read warnings about the very footsteps I had heard. The last entry, written in frantic scrawl, was particularly chilling. It watches. It knows us all. You cannot escape the truth. Just then, a loud thud came from outside, causing me to jump and clench the journal to my chest. My instinct screamed at me to bolt, but I was rooted in place. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around me, urging me to look. With a deep breath, I mustered enough courage to move to the window. Peering out, I scanned the trees again. That's when I saw it, a figure standing eerily still, watching me from the edge of the clearing. I locked eyes with it, and for a brief moment fear and curiosity tangled within me. What did it want? Then the ground shook beneath me, and the dark figure took a step forward. My heart raced. Everything inside me screamed to run. I dashed back to the door, journal in hand, ready to face whatever was waiting for me in the shadows. I burst through the door, my breath clouding in the cold air as I stumbled into the night. The snow crunched under my feet, but I barely heard it over the rush of panic thrumming in my ears. I needed to get away from that place, from the figure in the clearing. I sprinted back into the trees, my heart pounding like a drum as I dodged branches and ducked under low-hanging limbs. Every glance back felt like a moment wasted, and I could almost hear the whispers fanning out from the cabin, trailing behind me like smoke. But then I stopped. The sound of footsteps echoed through the woods, soft yet relentless. Someone or something was following me. Adrenaline surged through me, and I picked up the pace, the cold biting at my cheeks. Why was I even running deeper into the forest? I needed to find a way out, a road or a sign of civilization. Anything but this endless maze of trees. The footsteps grew louder. I risked another quick glance over my shoulder. Nothing. Just shadows. Just the cold bite of the night, clinging to the air and my skin. But I could feel it. A presence lurking just beyond the trees. Suddenly, a chill swept over me, sharper than the biting cold. I pressed on, desperate to drown out the sense of foreboding. Then, an unexpected break in the trees opened before me, revealing a small clearing. It looked like an old campsite, maybe abandoned long ago. I hesitated but spotted a fire pit in the center, surrounded by a circle of worn logs. Maybe I could hide there. I crept forward, my heart racing, and crouched behind a log. I tried to control my breathing, listening intently. The footsteps stopped, but the air was heavy with tension. I scanned the perimeter of the clearing, peering into the darkness. That's when I saw it again. A movement in the trees. A flash of dark fabric. I held my breath, my pulse quickening. It wasn't just a trick of the light. I could see it. A figure moving, still and deliberate, circling the edge of the clearing. This time, it didn't stop. It kept moving, gliding between the shadows as if it was searching for something, or someone. I gripped the journal tightly, my only connection to what had come before. The warnings echoed in my mind, the truth. Whatever it was, it would find me eventually. The whispers came back, rising like a chant amidst the stillness, beckoning me. With a sudden rush of courage or maybe foolishness, I decided to confront whoever or whatever was out there. I stood up slowly, scanning the night, trying to catch the figure in my eyesight again. "Who are you?" I called out, my voice breaking through the silence. The woods echoed my question back at me in a haunting way. No answer came. My heart raced, waiting for a response or the sound of footsteps approaching. Then came the sound. A soft voice carried on the wind. "You can't escape. It knows you're here." A jolt of fear shot through me. The words chilled me more than the winter air. I turned to run, but it was too late. I had lost my chance. The darkness closed in around me and I felt the figure lurking closer, hidden in the shadows. That's when I realized I was no longer alone. I stood frozen in place, heart hammering as the air thickened with silence. The twitching of branches and soft rustle of snow beneath my feet became a haunting backdrop to my racing thoughts. What did that voice mean? Who was searching for me? A twig snapped nearby, jolting me back into action. I turned and sprinted deeper into the woods, the cold air slicing at my lungs. Every part of me screamed to keep running, to put distance between the clearing and whatever hunted me. I had to stay ahead of it. The trees crowded around me, branches clawing at my clothes. My breath came out in shallow puffs, visible against the dark. Where was the road? Where were the lights of a cabin or the comforting noise of someone else? I stumbled but forced myself to press on, and then, a flash of movement caught my eye, a figure darting between the trees. I skidded to a stop. I didn't imagine it this time. I was being followed. Panic gripped me again. I felt as if the forest was alive, closing in on me, almost eager for the chase. I ducked behind a massive oak, my heart racing, trying to gain my bearings. I could hear the footsteps again, but they were closer now, almost as if they were playing a game, circling around me deliberately. The weight of the journal in my pocket felt like an anchor, a reminder of the warnings written within. I had to focus. Then, a voice broke through the whisper of wind. "You shouldn't have come here," it said, clear and cold. It stirred a primal fear deep inside me. I pressed my back against the tree, desperately scanning the darkness. Then a shadow moved just beyond the trunk. My instincts kicked in, and I took a step back. It was too close. I pushed off from the tree and bolted once more, my breath a wild rhythm in my chest. But ahead, the underbrush grew thicker, vines and branches snatching at my clothes. I barely noticed, driven by the frantic need to escape. Finding a path became impossible. I stumbled, falling onto the snow-covered ground, and felt cold seep into my clothes. I rolled onto my back and looked up. The moonlight broke through the canopy, illuminating the swirling snowflakes around me. It felt strikingly peaceful at that moment, but the peace was a mask. I could still hear those footsteps, still sense a presence that wasn't far behind. Pushing myself to my feet again, I started moving. A glint caught my eye, something reflecting the moonlight in the distance. I squinted to see it better. A small, dilapidated shack stood in a clearing farther ahead. Hope surged through me. Maybe it was a way out, or at least somewhere to hide. I took off, moving faster than I ever thought possible. As I approached, the glimmer of hope flickered. The door of the shack creaked open slightly, as if inviting me in. But I hesitated, sensing danger lurking just outside the glow of that dim refuge. Then I heard it. A voice softer this time, dripping with malice. "You're going to wish you never came." I froze. I had a choice to make. Enter the shack and confront whatever waited inside, or turn back into the woods and face the darkness that lurked behind me. Everything in me screamed to run. but something told me I had to step inside. The shack loomed before me, its crooked door hanging ajar like an open mouth waiting to swallow me whole. I hesitated just a moment longer, scanning the darkness behind me. The footsteps were angling closer, their rhythm steady and methodical. With a deep breath, I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air inside was stale and heavy, carrying the scent of damp wood and decay. My heart still raced as I fumbled for a light switch, only to find none. Instead, I squinted, trying to adjust to the dimness. Scraps of furniture were scattered throughout, an overturned chair, a dusty table, remnants of a life once lived. I moved cautiously, every creak of the floorboards echoing in the stillness. Had I really escaped the danger outside? The feeling of being watched prickled at the back of my neck. In a far corner, I noticed a small window, frost-covered yet slightly cracked open. I rushed toward it, desperate for any sign of the outside world. As I leaned closer, something in the distance caught my attention. I peered out through the glass, my breath fogging the surface. Shadows flickered between the trees, their shapes darting in and out of view. It was as if the forest was alive, pulsing with an unseen energy, and then it struck me. I hadn't considered that whatever was out there might not be just one thing. My thoughts raced back to the journal. "They'll come for you in threes," it had warned. I felt a chill run down my spine. Were there more than one? My mind raced with the implications. Suddenly, a loud bang on the door jolted me from my thoughts. It reverberated through the shack, making the walls tremble. Fear gripped my chest as I backed away from the window. I couldn't stay here. I darted back into the shadows of the shack, hiding behind an old barrel. My hands trembled as I clenched the journal tighter, hoping it held more secrets that could help me understand. The noise came again, a repeated thud, followed by a voice that chilled me to the bone. "Let us in." It was different this time. Not just a single voice, but several layered together, echoing as if they were chanting. My imagination spiraled out of control. They knew I was in here. They wanted in. "Help me," I whispered to myself, but I was alone. My choices felt suffocating. I could barricade the door with that broken chair, but would that be enough? Or should I attempt to slip out through the window before it was too late? Every nerve in my body screamed to run, yet I felt rooted to the spot, paralyzed by fear. I surveyed the room for anything I could use, my pulse thundering in my ears. And then it happened. A sudden silence fell like a heavy blanket, smothering all sound. My breath hung in the air, and I strained to listen. The footsteps had stopped. What came next was a low, rasping voice from just outside the door. "You shouldn't have come here," it taunted, sending ice through my veins. Panic surged back, threatening to consume me as I realized that whatever was outside had only been waiting, watching, and it wouldn't remain patient for long. I had to decide, stay hidden or confront whatever waited on the other side. Before I could fully process my thoughts, the door began to creak open. There was no time left. I had to act. I bolted to the window, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I had to escape. The door continued to creak, inching open, revealing a sliver of darkness. I glanced back at the gaping entrance, then the slightly cracked window behind me. The cold air beckoned. With adrenaline fueling me, I decided on the window. I rushed to it, forcing aside my lingering fear. I pushed up on the frame, wincing at the rusted hinges that screamed with protest. The frost nipped at my fingers as I struggled to get it open wide enough to fit. Finally, it relented. I could feel the chill seep into the shack, mixing with my racing thoughts. I squirmed through the gap, squeezing my body out into the night. The snow crunched beneath me as I landed, a harsh reminder of the world surrounding me. I was finally free, but the relief was short-lived. As I stood up, I heard footsteps crunching through the snow behind me, sharp and deliberate. They were closer than before. I spun around, scanning the darkness but seeing nothing. My breath came out in frantic puffs, white against the night. Whatever was inside that shack had quickly escalated my fear into a full-blown panic. Desperate to outrun the encroaching dread, I sprinted into the heart of the forest. The trees towered above me, their branches bare and claw-like. Each step I took was met with the soft whispers of the wind, and the further I went, the more the chilling realization hit me. I couldn't tell if the footsteps followed me or if I was merely hearing things. Just when I thought I was alone, I caught sight of movement in the periphery. Shadows danced just beyond the reach of my vision. There were 3 of them. My heart dropped. The journal's warning echoed loud in my mind. They'll come for you in 3s. I pressed on, pushing through the underbrush, branches snagging at my clothes. Panic turned to a single thought: survive. I needed to find a place to hide, to regroup. Then I saw it, a large hollowed tree, its trunk wide enough to shield me from sight. I dove inside, pulling my knees to my chest. The rustling sounds of the forest masked most of the noise, but I could still hear it, the soft crunching of snow. The footsteps were near. My heart raced as I struggled for silence, instinctively covering my mouth with my hands. Even the slightest noise could give me away. From my hiding spot, I dared to peek out. The shadows moved closer, the moonlight revealing dark shapes cloaked by the trees. I squinted, trying to see their features, but they were just silhouettes, indistinct and menacing. Suddenly they stopped. I held my breath, my blood running cold. Their whispering voices began again, this time more distinct. Come out. Come out. The words dripped with malice, and with them, a ripple of bone-chilling terror coursed through me. I pressed myself deeper into the hollow tree, praying that I didn't make a sound. What did they want? I thought my heart would burst from my chest as I waited, frozen in that small space. And then, just when I thought they might disperse, one stepped forward, direct toward my hiding spot. That's when I saw it. A flicker of pale skin in the shadows, a glimpse of eyes that glimmered in the dark. I stifled a scream. There was no escaping. They were here for me. I hugged my knees tighter, willing my heart to slow. The figure drawing closer shifted, revealing more of its features. Its eyes glowed, chill and mesmerizing, while its skin had a ghostly hue that sent fresh waves of terror through me. Why was I hiding? Why not just run? But the whispers continued. Come out, lacing their sinister invitation with the cold breath of the night. I pressed myself harder into the tree, hoping it would swallow me whole. They were coming for me. I could feel it. The shadows shuffled in the snow, their movements dangerously fluid. I couldn't make out any distinct details, only shapes and echoes framing a face I dared not see completely. I thought about the journal, the warnings it held. They were real, these beings, and now I was trapped in their grim game. Suddenly, as if sensing my fear, the figure laughed, a low, unnerving sound that filled the night air like frost. Don't be afraid, it taunted, voice dripping with mock sympathy. You'll enjoy this. My pulse quickened, panic surging within me. I glanced over my shoulder, hoping to find another path out of the hollow, but the forest loomed dense and impenetrable. The only escape seemed to lead deeper inside, into the unknown. Just as I contemplated my options, I heard a sharp snap, followed by heavy breaths. Someone else was nearby. A new figure emerged from the darkness, moving with unnatural grace. This one was clad in dark clothing that blended seamlessly with the night, its face obscured by a hood. It turned sharply, eyes locking on my hiding place before it whispered, "We can help you," in a voice that was both soothing and ominous. Help? Their offer felt more like a trap. I pushed against the trunk, trying to gather courage. But fear weighed me down. Perhaps they truly wanted to save me from the ones pursuing me. But what would that cost? Before I could think of a response, the 3 shadows blended into one, their voices merging into a chilling chorus. Join us, they sang. The air seemed to freeze around me, and I felt a pull toward them, as if every fiber of my being wanted to turn and comply. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. In that moment, I knew I had to escape, and fast. My heart raced as I prepared to bolt from my hiding spot and make a run for the sliver of moonlight among the trees. Just as I took the first breath to yell, the ground trembled, creating a solid wall of panic behind me. I had to move. I burst from the hollow tree, ignoring the branches that clawed at my arms. Adrenaline propelled me forward into the blackness. I had no idea where I was going, only that I had to get away. The voices lifted behind me, rising in anguish. "You can't escape!" Then I heard it. A deeper growl, a new sound within the chaos, something far more menacing. I stumbled, glancing back only to feel the air shift heavily. The cold breath of something ancient and hungry brushed against my neck. When I turned back, everything went dark. The ground had relinquished its hold and I plunged into the earth, swallowed whole by the forest. The last thing I saw was the glimmer of eyes, watching from above. The world faded to darkness, and I felt engulfed, lost within an endless void. I could still hear the echoes of whispered voices calling to me, a haunting melody that wrapped around my mind. The whispers dissolved with the darkness, merging into a suffocating silence that pressed in from all sides. I couldn't tell how long I was in the void. Time felt meaningless, and every second blurred together. Just when I thought I might drown beneath the weight of the darkness, a flare of light broke through. The sharp coldness of reality rushed back, and I jolted upright, gasping for breath as I blinked into visibility. I lay sprawled at the edge of a dense thicket, the familiar eerie woods enveloping me in their grasp. Dread settled in my gut as memories flooded back. The footsteps, the figures, the whispers. Had I only imagined it? But as I looked around, I knew it was all real. I was back, yet different. I cautiously pushed myself to my feet and brushed the frost from my clothes. My heart still raced, but the predators were gone. The night was quiet. The only sounds the distant rustling of trees. I quickly glanced around for signs of anything. The air felt heavy with something I couldn't pinpoint. With hesitation, I retraced my steps, remembering the direction I had fled. Each crunch of the snow beneath my feet was a reminder of the danger I'd left behind, the abyss I had barely escaped. Time seemed different now. It felt as if hours, maybe days, could have passed since I had stumbled into that hollow tree. But no. My instincts screamed that it was still the same night, the same haunting cycle. As I forced myself further into the woods, the moments I'd spent in the dark battered my mind. Something had shifted within me. I felt the weight of more than just fear. It was understanding. I now saw the trees and the shadows differently, as if I were peering through a veil. The woods had transformed into a labyrinth of secrets, a living puzzle waiting for its pieces to click into place. Just as I reached a clearing, a low groan broke the silence, a familiar sound that reverberated through my bones. I turned slowly. The air thickened once more. There, in the distance, stood the shadows. Not figures anymore, but outlines of the very fears I had fled. They moved with an unnatural grace. Their eyes glowed ominously, piercing the dark. "Welcome back," they rasped in eerie unison, their voices no longer a chorus of comfort, but a chilling reminder of their intent. My heart pounded, but among the rising tide of fear, a strange resolve bloomed within me. This wasn't over. Whatever held me here, whatever understood me, was not finished yet. The whispers echoed my thoughts. It knew I would return, that I belonged here in this forgotten part of the world. With every muscle tense, I clenched the journal you had. My map, my guide through this endless night. It glowed faintly in my grasp, a flickering light illuminating the path ahead. "What do you want from me?" I demanded, my voice trembling but determined. Their laughter echoed like wind through the branches, winding about me, blurring the lines of sanity and reality. "You will learn," they sang. "You will know the truth." And for the first time, I understood. I wasn't simply an outsider intruding in their territory. I was woven into the fabric of this tale, an echo of every soul that had once roamed here before me. In the twilight of fear and uncertainty, I braced myself for what lay ahead. Was it supernatural or simply the manifestation of deep-seated fears? I couldn't tell anymore. I took a step forward, the darkness pulling at me like an old friend. Whatever lay there in the depths of this forgotten wood, I was ready to face it.